the Planning Committee did meet last week. Can I get approval of those minutes, please? Can I get a second? Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. For the record, we are missing Fusco, Omobian, and Neal, and we have Madam President Somerville on our committee as the ex officio member. So with that, moving forward, we do not have no new pieces of legislation, but we do have 3 public hearings in front of us today. So everybody that is in the chambers that is here to speak in regards to one of the 3 public hearings today, please stand up so we can get a member of our law department to swear you in, please. We have 3 public hearings today. If you're going to speak in favor or against, please stand up. And member of our law department, please swear him in, please.
Thank you. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you do, say, I do. I do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, our first public hearing is a ordinance authorizing a conditional use to retain a solid fence at 1250 Brown Street and declare an emergency. Mike Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thomas Tumlin is requesting permission to retain this solid fence at, within the building line setback at this location. Setback along Clifford Avenue is 15 feet. Since the fence is approximately 6 inches from the Clifford Avenue right-of-way, conditional use approval is needed for the 14 feet, 6-inch variance of the setback. The solid fence encloses the side and rear yard of the corner property between the rear half of the dwelling and the detached garage. The petitioner's driveway is located west of the solid fence along Clifford Avenue. Petitioner states the fence existed when they purchased the property in 2004. Planning staff recognizes that corner lots are more restrictive due to 2 building line setbacks. Petitioners stated that the solid fence prevents unwanted access to their swimming pool and allows them more usable open space. The traffic engineer conducted an inspection and agrees with the planning staff that the northwest corner of the fence should be angled in at least 5 feet to provide greater visibility for foot traffic traveling west on Clifford Avenue. If the petitioner angles in the northwest corner of the fence at least 5 feet, planning staff and the planning commission recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Mike. With that, is there anybody in the chambers that wants to speak in favor of the ordinance for 1250 Brown Street? Anyone? All right. Anybody in the chambers that want to speak against the ordinance for 1250 Brown Street? Please come on up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Willie Smith, address 225 Chittenden. I've had this past experience of being sight lines cut off by a corner lot, building the fence, especially a 6-foot high fence, because you can't see as you're coming out of your drive or whatever what's coming down your sidewalk or before you get to the street. So I think it's very dangerous, and it does cut off the sight lines for a person's view when you have a tall, solid fence. A cyclone fence would probably be fine, but a solid fence cuts off the sight views for anyone that's living in the first house on that street. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anybody else in council chambers that want to speak against the ordinance for 1250 Brown Street? All right, with that, I'm going to close the public comment period, or sorry, the comment period. Is there any questions? Obviously, from the committee, I do have a question also. This is in Ward 7, but go ahead, Mr. Swirsky.
Would you guys like to respond to the concern about this?
Need to talk into your microphone, sir.
Would you guys like to comment or respond to that concern that was raised by a citizen?
Yeah, I would say that, we take these conditional use requests sort of case by case, and we have the traffic engineer go out and look at these. So in this particular case, this fence does not go along the neighboring property line. It's set away. If you see the map, you can see that it's on the east side of the petitioner's driveway. So it's far enough from the neighbor as to not impede the neighbor's vision. Also, we're asking that it be angled so the petitioner can pull out of their driveway their garage and see, people on the sidewalk better by angling the fence. And that was a recommendation by the traffic engineer. So that's a condition that we're asking for.
Thank you, Mr. Swirsky. Mike, my question to you is, has the petitioner contacted you or been in contact with you in regards to trying to angle the fence?
Yes, we talked to the petitioner about
Okay.
that, and they're in agreement to do that.
Okay. Now, to explain to my committee members and my other colleagues, this is Ward 7, so I did drive by twice. My concern moving forward is the fence. It's hard for me to explain this. Hopefully I explain it correctly. The fence is right up against the sidewalk.
6 inches off.
My two concerns is, moving forward in the future, I noticed one of their sidewalks is uprooting from the Devil Strip tree. So moving forward, if there's any public utilities like a gas line, electric line, or if the city or any kind of contractor had to come out in the future and do any kind of construction work to the Devil Strip or the sidewalk, and it resulted in one or two slabs of sidewalk that had to be removed and replaced, and somehow that contractor or the city damaged the fence, I want to make sure we're not liable, or there's no kind of really discussion in regards to that moving forward. I don't know if that makes any sense, but did you see the fence? It's right up against basically that sidewalk almost. So that's my concern, is 5 years down the road, if there's a gas line or a water line or something that needs to be taken care of by whatever contractor or the city, that if bulldozer or a jackhammer or something damages that fence, I don't want them to come back on that contractor or the city. So,
Yeah, I'm not aware of what the policy is on that for public service, but I can check with public service and get back with you on that to see what, I imagine there is some policy with regard to that if they damage personal property,
okay.
How that's handled. So I can check with you.
When you're saying it has to be, what is it currently right now, that fence? Is it six?
The fence is 6 inches off the property line.
And what's it have to be from the sidewalk?
It has to be 15 feet.
15 feet. So moving forward, that's my concern. My concern is I don't want my colleagues here to okay this conditional use or whatever, and then 5 years down the road, if there's an electric utility line that goes under that sidewalk or that Devil Strip and something happens and we damage that fence or the contractor damages that fence, I don't think it's right for that property owner to come after that person, if that makes any sense to my colleagues, and that's my concern. So with that, any other questions, committee members, council members, in regards to this one? Okay. Moving forward, can I get a motion for time?
Motion for time?
All in favor? Aye. So we'll take time on that. All right, we'll move right into our second public hearing. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to retain a solid fence at 1519 Preston Avenue and declare an emergency. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Edward Hazlett is requesting permission to retain this solid fence within this setback. Since the fence is 2 feet and 6 inches from the Ruckle Road right-of-way, conditional use approval is needed for the 17-foot, 6-inch variance of the setback. The solid fence encloses the side and rear yards of the corner property between the rear of the dwelling and a detached garage. The planning staff recognizes the corner lots are more restrictive due to 2 building line setbacks. The traffic engineer's office recently conducted an inspection and noted that the site visibility was not an issue because no driveway exists along the west side of Ruckle Road. Any site obstruction of vehicles or pedestrians is eliminated. Petitioner has stated that the solid fence gives them privacy and security for themselves and their 3 dogs. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to the condition.
All right, thank you, Mike. So we'll open this up for the comment period. Anybody in the chambers that want to speak in favor of the conditional use at 1519 Preston Avenue, please stand. Please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, please, for the record.
My name is Edward Hazlett, and I reside at 1519 Preston Avenue. And I'd just like to have a conditional use to retain the fence. Like I said, it's for security. Buckle Road is a route for a lot of kids going to East High School. And I have 3 dogs. And years ago, we've had it about 20 years. I've always had dogs. They would tease the dogs and that. And I put a section in, chain link inside, which I keep them in there if they're out, school kids are going by. But the wood fence is still there. But before, that side drive, it's real old. It's too thin to drive a car down. People would cut through, kids coming through, you know, and stuff. So we've put the fence up and always had it maintained.
Okay, thank you. You can go ahead and have a seat for now, and if we have any questions for you, we'll call you back up. Moving forward, is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor of the conditional use at 1519 Preston Avenue? Now, is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition of the conditional use for 1519 Preston Avenue? All right, with that, we'll close the comment period and open it up to any questions from committee members. Any questions? All right, no questions. Oh, Mr. Zach Milkovich, please. I know this is in Ward 10.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Mr. Hazlitt for, as you correct, is in Ward 10, for inviting me down to get a visual of this fence that was in question. And like Mr. Antonucci mentioned on Ruckle, the driveway is no longer in use. Is like Mr. Hazlitt said also for, for safety and to keeping his animals within that boundary. And I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Hazlitt. Their yard is absolutely pristine, and they really take great pride of where they live, and they're an asset to the community. And I would humbly like to ask my colleagues for an affirmative vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Milkovich. What I'll do is, what I would like to do and ask my committee is to consider taking time on this item, just because we do have 3 colleagues that are out of state right now at a National League of Cities convention. So with that, and you're more than welcome to be invited back this evening at 7 o'clock to speak again when we have more council members. You're more than welcome to come back, and Zach can fill you in on how that works too. But with that, if there's no other questions or comments, what I would like to do is take time because of our colleagues.
Motion for time?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. So we'll take time on this item, and like I said, we will hold another public hearing this evening at 7 o'clock, and hopefully your representative, Zach, can fill you in if you have any questions in regards to that. All right, with that, we're going to move into our third and final public hearing. That's an ordinance changing the name of Greenspire Lane to Greenspire Circle in the Lake of the Woods subdivision and declare an emergency. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, committee members, the 8th Ward councilperson, Marilyn Keith, has requested that the Planning Department investigate the changing of the name of Greenspire Lane, located in the Lake of the Woods subdivision. The short cul-de-sac street has just 3 dwellings addressed on it. The Lake of the Woods subdivision was developed in 1984 with land that had been recently annexed and in close proximity to Bath Township in the city of Fair Lawn. At that time, Greenspire Lane was dedicated and named. 10 years later, the villages at Fair Lawn subdivision was established in the city of Fair Lawn. That allotment also designated a street as Greenspire Lane. The address ranges on the 2 streets are similar enough and in close enough proximity to each other that confusion abounds. The residents of Greenspire Lane have recounted numerous instances of delayed mail, confusion over provision of services, and cold pizza deliveries. They're also understandably worried about the prospects of timely response in an emergency situation. Planning staff recognize the unfavorable circumstance in which the homeowners have been placed and is in agreement that the street name should be changed. Both Planning Commission, planning staff recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mike, I appreciate that. Now we'll open it up for the public comment period for this ordinance changing the name of Greenspire Lane to Greenspire Circle. Anyone in council chambers that would like to speak in favor of this ordinance? All right, hearing none. Are you speaking in favor of it? No. No, he's taking a phone call. Is anyone in the audience that want to speak in opposition of this ordinance? All right, seeing and hearing none, we'll close that public comment period. Any comments or questions from committee members?
Just, I like the word Greenspire. I think it's nice.
We recommend retaining the name Greenspire.
All right, thank you, Mr. Swirsky. I would like to hear if you have any comments.
These residents have reached out on more than one occasion to me, and you know what, it does make you chuckle that it might be pizza delivery, but when you're waiting for that, that can be a big deal. More importantly, though, is if we were to have a safety unit that was called and there was some confusion there, all three people that live on the street are aware of the change and are in favor of the change. So I think that's important to note. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Keith. Any other questions, comments, members of council? Okay, what I would like to do is, obviously, for the respect of our colleagues that are not here, if it's okay to take time on this item. I believe the ward council person is in favor of this, but also in favor of taking time.
Motion for time.
All right, second, we all in favor? Aye. All right, anybody opposed? No. So with that, I believe there's nothing else come before us, correct? So we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.